दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad Express University Station, Netaji Bhavan.
Orange, yellow, blue, pink. Lots of colors on offer. It'll be a kaleidoscopic Sunday for all of you at the IPL 2025. We've got you covered on this fantastic show that we call Voltas FreshAir Coolers presents Cricbuzz Live. No shortage of variety. Future world paddle champion Michael Vaughan.
That is a long shot.
And alongside him is someone who's now riding a new wave of sartorial choices. Lovely birds there on your shirt.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought we'd go with the birds today. We'll see how it transpires. But yeah, looking forward to it. And is there an over 50s paddle league?
Me and you are entering the leagues that are allowing players to play that have got really dodgy knees.
Yeah, I think that's
GK has already thrown a challenge to you, hasn't he? On the WhatsApp.
He fancies himself on the paddle court, GK, yeah.
Is he good?
I'll tell you this week.
All right,
I'll be
we'll see.
playing him.
Maybe we'll do a video and put it up on Cricbuzz. A paddle video on Cricbuzz. But gentlemen, just a quick reassurance. No electric substation problems here. We've got you covered. We've got you nice and comfortable. Firstly, welcome to Cricbuzz.
No fires. Thank you very much to Heathrow for the delays, but that's all right.
All okay at the Heathrow now?
Well, I don't know. Didn't go there. I went up to Michael's part of the woods and ended up flying out from Manchester instead.
Yeah, he came to the right part of the country to leave the UK. That's Manchester.
And you're in the right place. We've got you covered with everything. Two big games coming up. This is day 2 of the IPL. Up first, we've got Hyderabad up against the Rajasthan Royals. Remember, the other Royals won last night in their opening game against KKR. And then we've got that El Clasico of the IPL. It's Chennai versus Mumbai, but that's for later. Now, the Rajasthan Royals champions in the first season. Big news right up top, Michael. Sanju Samson fit enough only to play as a batter, not as captain, and they've gone to Riyan Parag as their go-to captain for the first 3 games. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he had a good season last year. He's been with them for a few seasons now. I'm guessing Sanju's got an injury that is not going to allow him to field. I thought it was very strange when I saw that he's playing, but he's not the captain. I thought that's a bit odd, but obviously the impact sub allows him to do that. Parag's an interesting cricketer. You know, he's had one good year, and it's very much like a Rajasthan thing to do. You know, they're quite I sometimes think Rajasthan overthink life. You know, but they've got a player here who's had a good year. He captains his state, he's done well with them, so why not? It's only for 3 games. Sanju will be back out there with the captaincy band in a few games, and also he'll be having an impact. You know, he'll have an impact. He'll be giving a few little tidbits here and there. So I don't see it really making that much of a difference.
What were their other choices, I suppose? That's one of the things. You look through that group and you think, is there any other standout choices to captain the side? Obviously, as Vaughan said, he does it for his state side, had pretty good success. The only thing I would be hoping is it doesn't detract from what he did last year, because that was his breakout year. It had, you know, every other year we've been talking about the talent without the performances. Last year we had the performances, and can he back that up in the first 3 games, which you know, have always been quite crucial from Rajasthan's point of view.
I was just disappointed that, again, Rajasthan do think out of the box. I was disappointed they didn't give it the 13-year-old.
That might be just one too far, I think.
Why not?
Let's come back to Riyan Parag, who's been with the Royals since the age of 17, and he does enjoy a certain vote of confidence from the management as well. This is what they've said. You know, the decision sort of underscores the franchise's confidence in his leadership. They've spoken about his tenure as Assam's domestic captain. But in 3 games, if you were the boss at RR, what are you looking for in Riyan Parag? Body language, the way he deals with players, or do you not read too much into it?
You can't read too much into it. I mean, Michael's probably more equipped to talk about captaincy than I am, but the simple fact is that Sanju Samson is still their captain. Riyan Parag has got to do a job on the field. So when he goes out to bat, it's just Riyan Parag the batter and the cricketer. As long as he can just compartmentalise that side of it and be the batter he was last year for them, the success will come. On the field, he's got enough around him with a little bit of experience here and there that he can pick on. And, you know, you just imagine that Sanju and he and Rahul will be sitting down prior to games and discussing most of the strategies of what goes on anyway. But it'll just be how calm he can keep in and around the field and the bowling changes that he'll have to make while the fielding side of things is going on.
He can't possibly look at it as, it's only 3 games, because 5 of the 10 IPL teams have new captains. A lot of the senior pros will bow out at some stage in the next 1 or 2 years. So he's got to look at it as an audition.
If he's looking at it like that, he might not perform. He's just got to perform. Just go out there and play. I think a lot of these T20 teams now, a lot of the information is done before the game. There's a lot of data involved. There's a lot of matchups. You're almost given a piece of paper as a captain to know when to bowl who and how. But still, you've got to be very calm. I think T20 cricket's that format that you have to stay very calm. You've got to stay very close to your players. But the number one thing for any young captain or new captain, just perform. If you do that, you get the respect of your players. And obviously, by you performing, your team will play better. So you've just got to focus on that.
Yep, he does have that feistiness to his character. He's also won the toss, and RR have chosen to bowl first on a Hyderabad pitch.
Good tosser.
Which, he is a good tosser. Maybe Rohit Sharma must take a cue from 15 tosses. Okay, we won't go there because he's won the trophy. No complaints. But the decision to bowl first is all right on a pitch like this?
Well, just reading through the pitch report, they said it looks an absolute belter. Both ends are slightly drier, so there might be a little bit of turn. Afternoon games, conditions shouldn't change too much from in an afternoon game situation. So you don't get any dew. That's one thing, so it won't change. I always think in an afternoon game, I personally would prefer to put runs on the board.
Exactly.
And if it does get a little bit drier and start to turn a little bit with the wear and tear on it, I kind of like runs on the board in an afternoon contest. So I don't think SRH would mind too much.
Perhaps the function of RR being more confident about their batting than their bowling.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's 5 of the top 6 from last year still in this year. There's only Joss Butler really missing out for Rajasthan. I guess at the start of a tournament, you see it so often. Most captains just want to see what they're chasing.
Sure.
It'll be a fresh pitch. Later down the kind of the trail of the IPL, you can get used pitches, and I can understand that you'd get a few runs on the board. But I kind of get what they're trying to achieve today. The problem is if it's a true pitch and it's a flat wicket, they might be chasing plenty.
You've just given one of the best batting lineups an opportunity to put a score on the board and bat you out of the game. Whereas if you take that chance and say, I'm going to put ourselves under maybe a little bit of pressure, but if we put 200, 215, 220 on the board, then they're under pressure, and our bowlers are not quite as...
It's very much a modern mindset, isn't it?
It is.
You see it so often. We saw it in the Champions Trophy. We saw it in the World Cup 50 over here in India, where I keep going back to it. It was a boiling hot afternoon. England won the toss against South Africa and said, there you go.
Yeah.
Go on bat.
Go on.
And they got 400. So it's very much a modern way. It's just the first game of the tournament, so they're probably just playing their cards quite closely.
There is a lot of talk of a possibility of 300 in a T20 game, given what SRH have. They have a lot of those howitzer missiles in their batting lineup. We'll come to that. But their captain, Pat Cummins, took them to the finals last year, got stuck on the wrong end of a Mitchell Stark on a rampage, unfortunately. But Pat Cummins doesn't have Bhuvneshwar Kumar alongside this year. What's his role? He didn't seem too keen to bowl in the power play last year. This is what he's done.
Yeah, he doesn't prefer the brand new ball. I think that's one of the things you think about with Pat Cummins. He prefers coming in through the middle overs. He'll bowl an over in the power play if he has to, but then the middle overs and a couple at the back end. Taking pace off into the surface when he can actually get a little bit more grip onto the ball. His slower ball, his pace-off options become a little bit more effective for him. In this lineup tonight, this afternoon, I wonder whether he has to bowl one with the new ball, or does he go to someone like Nitish Kumar Reddy and say, because you swing the ball a little bit, I'll give you one option early on. Obviously, Shami's there, so that's not a problem for him at one end. It's just what he does at the other end. And if he goes to Nitish and says, OK, I want you to try and nip one out for me early on, just try and swing the ball. It doesn't matter if we go for a few runs, but your job is just to get a wicket in the first 1, 2, 3 overs, and then I can come in when the ball's a little bit older.
He didn't come to the Champions Trophy. He was nursing an ankle injury. I think he underwent surgery as well, and he was on family duty. So will he be a bit cautious at the start of the tournament? Maybe not bowl full tilt?
It might take him a few games to get into his gallop. I saw it in the Indian Test series, actually. He didn't play any cricket in the first test in Perth. He was a bit short of a gallop, but, he's world class. If I was the Sunrisers, I'd be using him in a real aggressive way with Shami at the top. You look at those numbers. His second best economy is his first over. Most wickets, first over. If you've got Shami and Cummins, you look at Hazelwood last night. Quality is quality. And when you've got quality and you've got a brand new ball, Again, it's not old school. Just use it, utilise it, and go and use your best 2 bowlers with the new ball to go and get 2 or 3 wickets. The stats tell you, if you get wickets in the power play, you go a long way to winning the game. So I'd be using my best 2 seam bowlers very early.
Yep. Also credit to the management. They had a pretty good auction. They've lost just Bhuvi, but they've strengthened their batting with Ishan Kishan. Now, the squad, does it look scarier than it did last year?
Is it possible to strengthen that batting lineup? Because it looked hard last year. I mean, it just looked like they just kept coming at you.
Yeah.
And, obviously the 2 at the top are massive keys for them. Travis Head, we know what he can do. We know what Abhishek Sharma is looking like going forward. He's just getting better and better, I think, every time I see him. Ishan Kishan's a really good addition, I think, for this side. Obviously he needs a season. He wasn't at his best at MI. And then you kind of got all-rounder class, and it bats relatively deep but pretty strong. The top 3, 4, 5, though, for me, are the key for them.
Yep. But clearly, the engine room of this batting attack, is the top 2. Travis Head, Abhishek Sharma. This team hit 178 sixes last year. Watch out, RR. It could be mayhem.
Oh, they're if you're a bowler and you go into bed the night before and you're facing this 5 at the top, well, you ain't sleeping. You ain't sleeping very well. I don't want to promote taking tablets the night before a game, but I would against this kind of side. They've got everything. They've got the real power. They've got the quality. I guess if you're playing against him, you think if you can get those early wickets, down the back end, they're a little bit lighter, but they're real top heavy. You look at like Ishan Kishan. He's nowhere near really the Indian white ball team at the minute.
Yeah.
And I'd say he's nearly a world-class player.
Yeah.
He's that so much skill and power, and he's got all the finesse of playing this game and makes it look very easy. So he's a really good selection, a really good pick. The depth in Indian cricket is ridiculous. I mean, Dooley were just in the green room, so I reckon you could pick 3 teams in white ball cricket and be competitive. I mean, obviously your first team's fantastic, your second team is equally as fantastic, and then your third team, you'd ruffle a team that would possibly make the semis and the finals of major tournaments as well. There's that much talent, and Ishan Kishan's in that kind of group that's nowhere near the international side at the minute, but he's real quality.
More on Ishan in just a bit, but these 2, the openers, Head and Abhishek Sharma, have been quite a story, and clearly they are the big threat. Is that the most dangerous opening pair at this IPL?
I'd have to put my sort of cap on and think about all the others, but it's right up there. I think the quality that Travis Head has and the ability he has to take the game away from you, just look at those strike rates. When your 2 opening batters are going at over 200. I mean, that was from last season. It's just so difficult to contain and bowl to. And Abhishek I think he's getting better. We've seen that rise through the Indian ranks as well. And he will walk out there tonight with as much confidence as Travis Head does.
Yeah.
And I love that about Abhishek. And I love that about the modern, I mean, if you want to just talk about Ishan, we'll get to him shortly, but the modern Indian player walks out with that confidence because of what has been in the last 10, 12 years and what Virat Kohli has shown on most occasions. Just walking out with that sort of, and I say this in the kindest way, it's what Australia have had for a long period of time, is that air of arrogance. But it's confidence, and I like it. I like it in a player, because if you don't have it, there is something wrong. You know your limitations at times, but you've just got to have that air of confidence about you when you walk out, and he'll walk out there tonight or this afternoon with that.
There is a lot of excitement around Abhishek Sharma, and a lot of fans reckon that this Sharma will eventually replace the other Sharma in white ball, in ODI cricket.
Yeah, he'll be at the top of, I guess, the selectors' lips in terms of the conversation, but there'll be others. There'll be others that come through. There'll be players that arrive in the next 8 weeks that we've not heard a great deal about that'll come to the fore. Yeah. The modern game is this opening partnership. In T20 cricket, you have to have 2 players that just go out there, they crash it. You go back 3 or 4 years ago, we used to say you have one crasher, one that played, someone like Mahaley Jayawardene and just go out and play a Joe Root-style player at the top of the order. Now it's purely about crashing it. Get out there and just try and cause a bit of chaos. But you've got to have the skill. Yeah. You've got to have the platform and the foundation to play all the different shots. You can't send out a pinch hitter of the old days. You have to have real quality players. And these 2, I mean, most teams have these styles of players now. You look at last night in the RCB chase. Phil Salt, he crashed it in that first 6 overs, got them off to a flyer. Exactly what you require.
Sadly, not in an England jersey.
And I'm slightly confused how he can pitch Chakravarti playing for RCB, but he didn't have a clue playing for him. There must be something about the 3 lines on the chest that make you not. It was the smog, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
The smog. That was Harry Brooks' great.
He doesn't look good in blue.
But this is. I think of all the combinations at the top of the order. I think you could make a strong case that this is the most dangerous.
Just 3 foreign players in that Hyderabad 11, and that means they may look at Adam Zampa or Wayne Mulder in the second innings when they come out to defend. So who would you go with on a pitch like this? Maybe
just like the name at the top, Sachin baby.
Who are you?
You've got the option of Jaydev starters as well.
It depends again on the surface a little bit as to what they want. But I mean, you would imagine Zampa. He again has been at the sort of top of his game the last 4, 5, 6 years in white ball cricket, 50 over T20 cricket. He's an absolute gun. Yeah. He's a guy you want on your side to control those middle overs. Can bowl, late enough into the innings as well. He's just one of those players. I think we always look at numbers, and teams talk about numbers a lot. His numbers of actually deliveries that hit the stumps are well into the mid 30% of the deliveries he bowls. Yeah. So he targets the pads, targets the stumps. Not a big high spinner, so skids it through, difficult to sweep. He'll come into the side, you would imagine.
Mm. For RR though, the 4 foreign players, Archer is very much there in the thick of things. And so is Fazalak Farooqi, who in fact was with SRH last year, couldn't get a game. He's now with RR. Then there is Mahesh Theekshana and Shimran Hetmyer. They're only foreign player in the batting. The top 5 very much Indian. Is this a slightly bowling weak group, Michael?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, that top 6 is strong with the batting, and then they're down to Jofra Archer at number 7 on that list. So, I think they'll depend on the batting. Yeah. Hasaranga's not there, so he's not playing, which is slightly surprising. I thought they'd go with the 2 mystery spinners, but I'm intrigued to see how Jofra Archer goes. I think Dooley was doing the Champions Trophy, and I think everyone watching him was looking, and in the series against India. I know the wickets are flat and it's not easy for the seam bowlers, but he just didn't look like the Jofra from 2 years ago. He's had this elbow injury. He's kind of working his way back in. Yeah. That matchup with him and Travis Head's quite an interesting one, because he has had Travis Head out a few times in the past. So they'll be giving the ball to Jofra and saying, "Go on, Joff, just try and get us 2 or 3 in the first 6 overs." He'll be given that licence to be really aggressive. Yeah. I thought for England, a lot of the England bowlers actually throughout the weeks in India and obviously in Pakistan and Dubai, they bowl far too short. Yeah. Far too short into the surface. All these subcontinent players now, I guess in our time, Dooley, you could target them from from hip to chest, and you go, not many of them played the cross-batted shots. Yeah. They all play those shots now, so you've got to be a lot more skillful. You've got to probe a little bit fully. So I'd be interested to see what length he bowls.
What's with the hype around Jofra Archer? There's a big test series coming up against India in July. Now, as this graphic suggests, he's been missing the mark in the shortest format in T20I since November 2024. As I said, big test series, then a series against Australia. Do you see Jofra Archer bowl full? Simon, you cover a lot of cricket in England. What's the buzz around Jofra Archer? Are they as excited as people in India are?
Well, you still go back to that first Test series he played and what he produced, and that's what created the hype. And you have to have those performances to create the hype around the world, which is what happened, which is what bought him the big money in the first time he came into the auction in this tournament. Has the injuries have taken their toll on him, and they certainly have. And I watched him through that Champions Trophy. His action is not where it was. I'll be interested to watch this afternoon, because everything in the Champions Trophy, the wrist was all wrong and it was all going into the right-handers. Now, if you remember Jofra at his best in the early days, he had the one that go away from the right-handers. Yes, he could bring that one back, but everything is falling away. Wrist is sort of just slightly off. It could prove quite good, I think, against someone like Travis Head, because he'll come round the wicket and angle the ball in and then take it away. So it might actually be to his benefit today in this format of the game. But look, he's always going to, if you bowl at 150, which he hasn't done for a little while now, you are going to go for runs if you get it wrong on good pitches. Yeah. That's one thing I will say. Whether it be Nortje, whether it be Archer, whether it be Stark, you will go for runs if you get your length wrong. Wood, the same. So he's just got to get that length right. And at this stage, the length is more, I think, Test match length. It's top of off. Too short, you'll get punished. Too full, you'll get punished. You've just got to go back to a good Test match length. And if a batter hits you off that length in this game, with a newish ball, fair play. Good luck to them. They're allowed to play good shots.
Bought for 12.5 crores, 6 times his base price. These days, it's no more a vanity exercise. It is serious business, and IPL teams tend to move on a lot quicker than they did, say, 5 or 7 years ago. So it's got to do well. This is the start of a 3-year cycle.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talk that England didn't want him to come here because obviously they want him playing potentially against India, and obviously the Ashes down the back end of the year. But he wants to come here. It's a huge amount of money. Yeah. He's got a big kind of. I think there's always a lot of pressure on Joff. You look at, and Simon's right to talk about that spell, Steve Smith at Lords, Marnus Labuschagne came out. It was absolute box office. He then bowled a spell at Headingley, which was equally as good, but didn't quite get the same amount of plaudits. But I guess he needs to start returning. He's been around now, that elbow. I'm sure they're managing it on a day-to-day basis. It's not easy when you're rocking up and you've got a kind of an injury that's been there for a long period of time. Again, Simon will know more as a bowler. As a batter, you can kind of cope with it. As a bowler, if it's slightly not right, you're probably just going to try and waver it with your action somehow. And in this game these days, if you're off in your action and with your lens or in your mentality, you're going to travel. And just recently, it's not been quite right, and he's been travelling. So I think it's quite a big 8 weeks for him. Big 8 weeks to get his action right, to get his performance levels high, to produce some magic and some numbers, the right numbers on the screen. And if he does that, he'll come back to the UK. I'm sure he'll give him a breather. And could he play 2 Test matches against India later on in the English summer? If he does that, I'll be delighted. But I still have a big question mark against Joffrey in Test match cricket because of that elbow and what he's coming back from.
He will be watched very closely by the ECB as well as fans all across the Rajasthan Royals, expecting him to do what Trent Bolt did for RR in the past. Remember, no Ashwin, no Chahal either. Now, on Cricbuzz Live this time, on Voltas FreshAir Coolers presents Cricbuzz Live, we've introduced a new segment. We're calling it #FixThisStat. What do RR need to fix? In the last 2 seasons, Michael, for them, it's been a story of 2 halves. They start really well, and then somehow they go off the boil. Last year as well, they lost just 1 of their first 8, and somehow huffed and puffed their way through to the qualifiers, where they lost to SRH in the second qualifiers. How do RR ensure that it's not a repeat of the last 2 seasons in terms of having a really strange second half of the season?
Yeah, I mean, that's very strange last year because they looked almost unbeatable, and they were for the first half of the tournament. And then suddenly, it almost epitomises what T20 is. When you get on a winning roll, you think you're going to win every game. As soon as you start losing games, you end up losing the game. It's the nature of the beast. I don't think there's any science, really, in terms of anything that I could say that can give them a real kind of clarity of the way that you play throughout a whole 8-week period. Yeah. All I'll say is hard. It's hard work, and fundamentally that is the only kind of message I'll give to the Rajasthan group, is that you might win 1 or 2 early games, doesn't mean you're going to be in the qualifications at the end. Yeah. You've got to be completely focused and dedicated throughout the whole of the tournament. And it's almost, and I'll say to the management as well, I think it's very easy just to be so excited at the start and to be buzzing around the first few games because everyone's excited. It's new, it's fresh. You've got to manage your players really well. And that means, on days that you're not playing and travel days, make sure that you're resting your players. I know there's a lot of commerciality in the IPL, but can you nip out a few players from not doing commercials for a week or so, just to give them a complete breather? I think it's a marathon, and they sprinted last year. Yeah. They were the hare. They were the hare, and they got caught up. And it's very important that I always call it the egg timer. Last year it looks to me like they turned the egg timer and it went flat, and they forgot actually that you've got to turn it back round and just control your players a little bit more.
Can a bit of complacency set in when things are going well for you? More of the same can perhaps go wrong.
It shouldn't set in, not in a tournament like this, because any team on their given day in this tournament now can beat you. They can blow you away. You look through all of these squads, everyone can beat every side, I think, when I look through this year. And it has been that case for the last couple of years. So complacency should never set in. It's kind of mirrored Sanju Samson's form.
Yep.
And I've said this we've sat here and talked about his form at the first 6-7 games of an IPL where he's got 350, 400 runs. And then all of a sudden he ends up with 550, 600 max at the end of the tournament. It's just mirrored his form. So how do they get the best out of their key players at the back half of the tournament? And that's what Michael's talking about, whether it be rest periods, whether it be just getting away, getting families in, family days. I mean, all these franchises have the wherewithal and the ability to do different things. They've got the money to do different things, to try something different.
Yep.
And Rajasthan have fallen, at the sort of the back end of the tournament the last couple of years. What do they do differently from a coaching staff, from a setup point of view, to change that narrative? And if they can find the recipe, then that's good. But what they need to do first and foremost is just continue to play well and not take anything for granted come halfway through the season. The best teams always show up at the back end of the season, at the vital times, whether it be World Cups of football, rugby, cricket, you name it. The best teams show up when it matters at the back end of the season.
Perhaps a similar story for Ishan Kishan as well, who was bought for a big price tag by the Mumbai Indians. But the last couple of years, he's been a pale shadow of himself. He isn't a part of the India white ball setup. He hasn't played for India since November 2023. But SRH backed him. I'm not too sure if they needed him, but they went for him. They must have seen something in him, and he's got to fire this year.
Yeah, I mean, look at those numbers. They're real quality numbers. Mumbai were all over the hockey last year, so he was a part of that group that just didn't get anything right. There was the leadership problems, and they lost a little bit of form, and he was a part of that group. But I think a fresh start for a player like Ishan's perfect. He's obviously gone to a franchise that desperately wants him.
Yeah.
And I do look at Pat Cummins and I look at Daniel Vettori, two outstanding individual people.
Yeah.
And they'll really manage him well. I look at Pat Cummins and his leadership. The one thing that stands out for me is his management of the personalities and the people within the group. Yeah. So he'll completely make sure that Ishan's relaxed and focus on what he needs to do and the style of play that he wants him to be. And he'll bring him into the group and make him feel $1 million. It's exactly what Pat Cummins does. So I think he's at a really good franchise.
We at Cricbuzz believe Ishan Kishan is the first name on that point to prove 11 in this IPL.
Yeah, and not a bad call, actually. I think no doubting the talent. And as Vaughan said, the situation at Mumbai last year didn't really suit anybody, to be honest. They were... they were just a franchise that you can wipe last season from and worry about this season. But Ishan Kishan... he was all in and around the Indian setup for a good period of time, was seen to be that next guy playing white ball cricket, batting at 3 or opening the batting. Get your keeping right. Make sure you're spot on with your keeping job, first and foremost. And that will transfer to the batting. Hardest thing in that side for him is to follow those two blokes at the top. Yeah. You come in and after two absolute jets at the top of the order. If they get going, your job is to continue that. If they fail, then your job's to kind of do what they couldn't do. Yeah. So it's not going to be an easy task for him, but I think he is. He's in the right setup. It'll be a very calm, relaxed setup, and there won't be a huge amount put on him, I don't think. And
you reckon he'll have the license to thrill? Just go out and bat like there's no tomorrow?
Yeah, they've got one gear, and I'll give you a clue. It's a very fast car.
He bats at 3 for you?
Yeah. I mean, got three left-handers.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I look at and think, could they throw in a right-hander there? But I don't think they care about that. If you're a quality player, it doesn't matter if you're left-handed, right-handed. You're looking at that. You've got, I guess, Nitish Kumar could go in at number 3 if they fancy just mixing it up. But I just look at quality. And when you're looking at a T20 side, you've got so much quality on that sheet, and then you've got arguably the best hitter of spin coming in at number 5. So it's perfect combination.
There's a lesser-known Ankit Verma in that 11. Aniket Verma, in fact, comes from UP, only 23 years of age. He hit a smashing century against Karnataka's under-23 team in the men's under-23 one-day tournament. So, there's someone new to look at then.
I'd be interested to see how they use Klaasen. And with the 3 left-handers options at the top, if they lose a wicket in the power play, Ishan Kishan goes in. No problem at all for me. But as soon as that power play is done, let's say if Head and Abhishek bat through to the 8th over, Klaasen's the next man in for me. I just, at times you just leave him too late. Yeah. He comes in as soon as there's an opportunity for the opposition to bowl spin. And if they get an opening combination that bats through to 7th, 8th over, he comes in. And then you've got a right-left combination, and Ishan Kishan can slot down to 4. If you lose one in the power play, Ishan Kishan just goes in.
In a lineup like this, 3, 4, 5, 6 have got to be flexible?
I think so. I mean, you have your ideas about it. So that they'll know, and we don't know how they're going to use Henrik Klaasen. I agree with Simon. I'd get him I want my best players to face as many balls as possible. It might be that SRH used him down that back end. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, if you're a 4, 5, 6, 7 batter in T20 cricket, you've got to be in those dugouts with your pads on, ready to go. You've got to be revved up, ready to run out.
4 or 5 guys with their pads on.
Yeah. There'll be anyone that goes out there to strike it.
Right, Fazalak Farooqi is ready to bowl the first over. Before we say goodbye, very quickly, gentlemen, today's Joy Factor question. Joy is very much back in his palatial house in Gurgaon, but he has sent us this question for all of you. Which cricketer playing in this year's Indian T20 League made his test debut in the first ever day-night test match? Could it be a Kiwi? Was at the Adelaide Oval, wasn't it? That's enough clues for you guys. Go and Google, go and find out what the answer is. Send it to us and make sure you tag Cricbuzz. But what's more important than the game is our prediction game. The guessing game leaderboard. Amit Mishra on alphabetical order is right now at number 1. None of us got it right yesterday. Right, Hyderabad batting first.
Are we talking total?
Yep.
We go total here and then we go power play in the second innings.
Yeah.
Okay, so total, I'm going to say flat wicket, 218.
Ooh. I'm going to go 202.
I'm going to go 212.
Oh, all right. Malcolm in the middle.
Always safe. Always safe. You guys go and enjoy the game wherever you'd like, but make sure at the end of it, you come back right here to Voltas FreshAir Coolers presents Cricbuzz Live. Bye-bye.
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
Lucknow Junction,
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವವರೇ
Hyderabad Express, Dayabasi Station, Netaji Obot.